Every coach I've ever had has told me that surface is the most important part of your bowling ball. But what does that actually mean? Let's find out here on 10 Pin Life. What is up, you guys? Welcome to 10 Pin Life and the first video in the What You Need to Know series, where we break down a variable that is included in the sport of bowling and in 5 minutes or less explain to you what you need to know about it. And to kickstart the series the right way, we're talking about surface. Before we get into it, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything that we're doing here at 10 Pin Life. I have a lot of really cool things in the work, a lot of things including the PBA Tour, which you guys seem to like. So if you hit that notification bell, we'll be able to bypass the algorithm and make sure you don't miss a thing. All right, here we go. Clock starts in 3, 2, 1. So the most important part of every bowling ball is the external surface. In the modern bowling game, bowling balls come in a variety of different finishes, made up of different chemical compounds, all to modify how your bowling ball uses the rotational energy that you impart on it. And that's the first and biggest thing to understand about surface. The surface of your bowling ball will dictate most of how your bowling ball uses the rotational energy or the spin that you impart on it when you rev it up. So when we change the surface of a bowling ball, what we are trying to modify is the way that that ball uses that rotational energy from the foul line to the pins. The second thing that you need to know about bowling ball surface is the difference between strong covers and weak covers. And it's really simple. It's all just on a spectrum. Bowling ball companies have used a variety of different words and phrases and adjectives to hype up their biggest and baddest bowling balls, but in reality, it's quite simple. All the way on one side, we have our strong, sanded, dull, solid cover stocks, and way on the other side, we have our weak, shiny, polished pearl cover stocks, and everything else is in between. Every single bowling ball that is in production today has a cover stock that is somewhere on this spectrum. And the thing that we need to know is that the stronger that we get, the more the ball will hook front to back. And also, the more the ball will be able to hook within oil. And that leads us to the third variable that we need to know about surface, and that is the two variables that dictate the location of the ball on this spectrum. One being the components that make up the bowling ball, and the other being the finish that is applied to the ball. To understand the components that make up a bowling ball cover stock, the comparison that always gets used is the idea of a snow tire and a racing slick. Solid cover bowling balls are made up of a chemical composition that allows for the ball to have deeper ridges within the cover stock or a more aggressive tread. These deeper ridges allow the bowling ball to actually dig through the oil that is applied to the lane, reach down through the pattern, and actually get down to the lane surface so the ball can start its hook phase earlier. On the other side of things, pearl bowling balls are made up of components that keep the ball nice and smooth so it'll glide through oil, but when it gets to dry boards, the ball will actually be in greater contact with the lane surface. So on our spectrum, a solid cover bowling ball will tend to be a little bit stronger because it's able to get through the lane oil and actually dig down to the lane surface and start to use the rotational energy that we impart on it. Whereas a pearl bowling ball, as it glides through, isn't really using much of that energy, and when it gets down lane, it's going to use a lot of that energy in a short amount of time. The other variable that dictates the location of the cover stock on our spectrum is going to be the finish of the bowling ball. Bowling balls can be finished at any variety of different surfaces between 500 and 5,000 and beyond. But really what we need to know is that the lower that number, the earlier the ball is going to want to hook, because it's a deeper groove that's built into the ball, and deeper grooves means we're getting down to lane surface. So changing the grit on a bowling ball will bump it a little bit in the stronger category if we make it a little bit duller. It'll make it a little bit weaker if we polish it up, but really it's about fine-tuning what works best for us. So now that we understand the spectrum of bowling ball surfaces and how balls can be stronger and weaker, what does that actually mean for ball motion? Well, it's all in understanding rotational energy distribution. To understand that concept, let's say when you release a bowling ball, you impart 10 units of rotational energy on the ball. The stronger the cover stock, the more it will cut through the oil to grab the lane surface, start to use that energy to slow down and evenly change direction. This will create a controllable reaction overall, with the caveat that if the ball encounters too much friction, it may hook too much too early, or even use up all of its energy and burn up, at which point the ball will roll end over end for the remainder of its path down the lane. On the other side of the spectrum, we have our weak cover stocks, which will use much less of the rotational energy that we impart on it in the oiled portions of the lane. But when they get to the drier boards, these balls will grab the lane panel aggressively and use their units of energy to change direction quickly. But that's just at the far ends of this spectrum and only two sides of a pretty complicated equation. The last and actually most important thing to know about bowling ball surface is what makes sense to your eye with the balls that you have in your arsenal. Most equipment is going to be somewhere near the middle of this spectrum, so the best thing that you can do is experiment with different surfaces on the bowling balls that you have and see what makes the most sense to your eye when you throw your shots. And box surfaces are really just recommendations from the manufacturers that they found that seem to work best, but ultimately your experimentation and seeing what makes the most sense to your eye will get you more in tune with the surfaces that you have in your arsenal and more prepared the next time that you hit the lanes. And that's what you need to know when it comes to the surface on your bowling balls. All right, guys, we made it. I can only hope that this helps clear up some of the mystery as it relates to the surface on your bowling ball. But if you think I missed something big or you have extra questions, please go ahead and let me know in the comments section. But that's enough out of me for one day. Thank you so much for checking it out. Hit that subscribe button before you go. And as always, don't forget, your best life is a 10-pin life. See ya.